Before you get to the conclusion, to hear me out, Diddy Combs is sure suspect, whatever fact add, but the YouTube stream is full of fake stories and clips about Diddy, so the question is, why are they targeting him? That opening line sets the end tone. This video isn't a fan defense or a hit piece. It's about separating documented outcomes from the noise that social media loves. The core problem is simple. Complex cases don't fit into 10-second clips. A mixed legal result gets flattened into a slogan, and the algorithm rewards the loudest version, not the most accurate. That's how viewers end up with confident takes built on incomplete context. The approach here is straightforward. First, acknowledge reality. Some claims met a legal threshold, others did not. Second, admit the environment. Old videos get reposted as new, captions inject motives never said on camera, and montages imply cause and effect that may not exist. Third, insist on distinction. What's established by the record, what's still alleged, and what's pure commentary. Clear categories keep the story honest. The goal for the audience is not to pick a team, but to build a filter. When a headline shouts certainty, ask what statute it refers to. When a clip goes viral, ask for the source, the date, and what was cut. When an edit stitches 3 moments into one scene, remember that editing isn't evidence. This video lays out the framework that makes sense of the mess, so viewers can evaluate new claims without becoming part of the rumor mill. That's how to keep heat and light in the same frame and keep judgment anchored to facts instead of feeds. Inside a courtroom, decisions are granular. Each count has elements. Each element needs proof, and jurors can separate them. Outside, attention spans are short and certainty is marketable. The result is one-liner coverage, cleared or convicted, with little patience for the space in between. That compression causes 3 predictable distortions. First, simplification. The brain likes tidy stories, both and doesn't. Trend. Mixed results are cognitively expensive, so audiences and creators round them down to a single label. Second, confirmation. People import loyalties into interpretation. Admirers highlight what absolves. Detractors highlight what condemns. Each side brandishes true pieces, just not the whole picture. Third, incentives. Platforms pay attention to emotion. Outrage and triumph travel faster than nuance, so headlines and thumbnails escalate language to win the scroll war. Once a simple frame lands first, memory sticks to it. Later clarifications rarely catch up because beliefs defend themselves. That's why opposite thumbnails can drop on the same day from different channels, each serving a tribe that wants to feel correct. None of this requires anyone to lie. It only requires the system to reward speed and certainty over care. There's a way to break the pattern. Good coverage keeps lanes separate. What the legal outcome states, what the allegations claim, and what analysis infers. It narrates uncertainty without shame. This is documented, this is disputed, this is interpretation. It slows the tempo enough to prevent rounding errors. When that discipline holds, audiences don't have to choose between denial and dogpile. They can handle complexity without losing the plot. Most viral fake doesn't arrive as an obvious lie. It arrives as truth rearranged. The first trick is context collapse. A 10-second slice pulled from a long interview, recaptioned to suggest a motive never stated on tape. Viewers react to the caption, not the source, and the slice becomes the story. The second trick is time warping. Old footage re-uploaded as if it's breaking. Cropped watermarks and vague descriptions make yesterday look like today. Then comes Franken editing. Unrelated shots, club hallway, courtroom cutaway, party still, are stitched into a sequence that implies causality. Ominous music sells the mood, confident voiceover sells the claim. Audio manipulation is subtler but powerful, quotes trimmed, mid-sentence. Pauses removed so reflective answers sound evasive, or narration laid under B-roll so speculation feels like documentation. Synthetic media blurs edges further. AI-tuned images, lip-synced shorts, fabricated screenshots dressed up to mimic filings or text, defenses that work, source or skip. If an original publisher or full clip can be identified, treat it as a claim, not evidence. Metadata first. Check dates, upload history and description. Reposts without lineage are red flags. Whole before whole. Watch full segments. If a grab only works in isolation, it isn't proof. Language audit. Flag verbs that smuggle certainty. Exposes, proves, confirms when the item merely suggests or alleges. Chain of custody. Trace how a clip traveled. The more hops, the more spin it likely picked up. Outrage is the accelerator for misinformation. When pulse rate spikes, slow down. Ask who recorded the clip, when, and what's missing. If those answers are foggy, an edit is trying to overwrite memory. That's not documentation, that's direction. Diddy functions as more than a person. In public imagination, he functions as a brand. Decades of music, television, fashion, and cultural moments build a halo that acts like armor for some and a bullseye for others. Fans see a legacy they're unwilling to collapse into a single headline. Critics see power that demands maximum scrutiny. Both reactions are understandable, and both can distort judgment. Three forces drive that distortion. Legacy bias turns iconic achievements into character references in unrelated debates. PR echo amplifies flattering narratives faster than careful updates, creating the sense that both sides have been heard when one side dominated the feed. Industry recursion keeps collaborators and beneficiaries protective, defending the win. Brand often feels like defending their own stories. Selective empathy appears too. Some audiences center alleged victims and interpret defense as erasure. Others center the accused and treat allegations as smear. Algorithms then sort everyone into teams, rewarding the hardest version of each take. None of this proves guilt or innocence. It proves incentive. Responsible storytelling separates lanes. Documented facts go in one lane. Character impressions and cultural impact go in another. Vibe doesn't testify. A person can be historically significant and still face serious findings. Those truths are not mutually exclusive. The brand's glow or glare shouldn't light the path for the analysis. The analysis needs its own flashlight. Legal terms aren't decoration. They define meaning. Different statutes carry different thresholds. Transportation for illegal sexual activity focuses on movement for unlawful acts and doesn't automatically imply force, fraud, or coercion. Sex trafficking usually turns on coercion or exploitation or involves minors. Racketeering, RICO, concerns participation in an enterprise with a pattern of specified crimes over time. Mixing these labels creates confusion on purpose or by accident. Language. Discipline prevents distortion. Match verbs to statutes. Don't swap trafficked for transported or enterprise for isolated acts. Keep consent versus coercion distinctions explicit. Adult, consensual, paid, coerced are not interchangeable descriptors. Timeline, everything. Allegations, indictments, trials, motions, and sentencing are distinct phases with different burdens and implications. Finally, label analysis. When interpreting intent or pattern, call it analysis so viewers file it correctly. Precision doesn't weaken a narrative. It strengthens trust. When the vocabulary is exact, disagreements can focus on interpretation instead of arguing over what the case even says. That's how honest debate survives the hottest headlines. Here's the twist. The story isn't only whether a celebrity was targeted. The reliable target every time is public attention. Each stakeholder has a reason to shape it. Prosecution teams showcase toughness on prominent defendants. Defense teams frame overreach to generate reasonable doubt in the court of opinion. Newsrooms chase polarizing angles because clarity sells. Creators scale outrage because it boosts retention and CPMs. The system is competitive theater. Attention is the trophy. A predictable loop forms. A provocative clip surfaces. Creators sprint to publish. Audiences split into camps, and legacy outlets cover the split itself. The internet reacts. New clips then appear to feed the loop. Each turn hardens certainty and erases nuance. That's why opposite narratives can trend simultaneously. Both are harvesting the same event for different audiences. Understanding that loop changes how stories are consumed. If a claim only exists as a spicy caption and a cropped video, it's probably designed for the loop, not for accuracy. If a timeline collapses weeks of events into a single montage, it's probably sculpted for emotion, not comprehension. Recognizing the attention economy at work doesn't answer every question about any one case. But it explains why the loudest version so often outruns the careful one. A scene from the early years explains the public persona. Picture a small Midtown studio at 3 a.m. The loop cycles. Engineers are exhausted. Combs paces between the console and the speakers, cutting time with his hands. One more, he says, not as a suggestion, but as a mandate. Vocals stack. Harmonies lock. By sunrise, a track exists that didn't the night before. That relentlessness became a brand. Can't stop, won't stop. Wasn't copy. It was a method.
That anecdote explains why many feel protective of the legacy and why others bristle at it. The same drive that built records, careers, and a public image also built an aura large enough to shape how later stories land, good or bad. Admirers, remember the grind and resist collapsing a lifetime into a headline. Skeptics cede aura and insist that power be examined line by line. The story doesn't decide a case, it explains reactions to one. Context is not an excuse, it's a map. It shows how a figure becomes a symbol and how symbols invite both devotion and scrutiny. Keeping that in mind helps the audience hear facts without letting nostalgia or cynicism do the thinking for them. The work is to respect the cultural footprint while staying precise about what is proven, what is alleged, and what is internet theater. Part 8, Case Update. Neutral third person, camera ready. Current posture is straightforward. After a mixed outcome, the defense submitted post-trial motions seeking acquittal or a new trial, arguing the relevant statute was applied too broadly. Prosecutors responded that the trial record sufficiently supported the counts that resulted in conviction and that the statute does not require profit or pimping to apply. A sentencing date is set for October 3rd. Prosecutorial guidance points to a recommended range in the 5 to 6 year neighborhood. Statutory maximum exposure is higher, though maximums are rarely imposed. The court will weigh standard factors, nature of the offense, history and characteristics, deterrence, and avoidance of unwarranted disparities. Between now and sentencing, typical steps include preparation of a pre-sentence report, submission of mitigation materials by the defense, character letters, health or community factors, potential victim impact statements, and argument over guideline calculations. None of these steps relitigate the entire case. They frame the appropriate consequence for the counts that remain. This overview is not a claim about anyone's motive. It's a map of process. It marks what is settled, what is argued, and what remains for the court to decide. The larger conversation about narrative, what's documented, what's alleged, and what's amplified, continues to ride alongside the legal calendar. Keeping those lanes distinct allows audiences to follow developments without mistaking edits for evidence or headlines for verdicts.